good afternoon to everyone out there, wherever you may be. Today we have a very special guest. Jorge Campos might have brought fans to the stands, but it was Kevin Hartman who brought the trophies. One of the pillars of the LA Galaxy's golden age, El Gato anchored a feared Galaxy defense that set records and made Los Angeles a perennial contender within MLS and in the international scene. Not just a Galaxy legend, El Gato is MLS royalty. Give him a damn statue already. Folks, get on your hands, get on your knees for El Gato Hartman.
What's going on, guys?
Not much right here, man. Just, trying not to gush too much. I'm in awe here next to, in front of a legend, so trying to keep my cool.
Well, I'm sorry about my surroundings. I'm at the stadium now, getting ready for the G2 game tonight. But you guys look all settled in, safe at home, which is nice to see.
Well, I'm actually hanging outside the stadium right now, but don't tell anyone.
Oh, I see you over there.
So thank you very much for joining us. I'm always telling the guys about some of my memories being a young journalist and interviewing players with the LA Galaxy. And you always come up in the conversation because I always enjoyed our conversations and just the banter that we had. And I remember seeing you join the club and make your name. And the thing that strikes me the most, and to this day, is how approachable you are, and the fans, how much they appreciate that. But a lot of people, especially the younger generations, don't know that much about you. So I wanted to know, a lot of people want to know as well, is when you were younger, when you were first starting out, did you ever imagine a career as a professional soccer player?
First of all, I appreciate you saying that I seem like I'm approachable. I hope I am. I think for me personally, it's, something about the sport that, makes me want to share the enjoyment that I get. I was fortunate to play a sport that I love for 17 years professionally. I grew up in a small town in southwestern Virginia. And I think it was fortunate that I did because I was able to kind of develop the technical side of the game. And then when I moved out here when I was 16, I was able to understand the tactical side of it, what the level was like, and how I was going to adapt that into the game. But ever since the time I was 13, I knew that I wanted to play professional soccer. Unfortunately, there wasn't a league within the United States. And so my goal had always been to, get to college, get through that, and then, try to find a way to play somewhere overseas. And so I'd always been a big Man United fan, watching Schmeichel and stuff grow up. And so I figured I'd be somewhere over in Europe. But my senior year of UCLA, Greg Vanny was actually my roommate. He was playing for the Galaxy. And so the whole MLS thing started to unfold, and the opportunity to hit at that point existed. So I paid my own way to go down to Fort Lauderdale and went to a combine. I actually got drafted when I was in a plane on the way home from Florida. So when I landed is actually when I found out that I'd been drafted by the Galaxy. So I kind of sold all my furniture or whatever the heck I did and went down to Mexico with Lothar and that group. But yeah, I mean, I didn't realize that it would look like it does today. I'm certainly jealous from the perspective of the salaries that some of the goalkeepers are getting these days, and knowing that I could have been wrapped it up by now if I would have came in a few years later. But with that said, I mean, I'm happy to see what the league has kind of grown into, and excited about the future.
Selfishly, I gotta say I'm glad you didn't go to Europe. But you said you love this sport. Growing up, did you always want to be a goalkeeper, or did you have the dream like all everybody else to score the goals?
Yeah, I mean, I actually played field player up until probably about the time I was 13. And I mean, I think a lot of my success was probably just based on pushing the ball past somebody and running past them. So it was mostly athleticism at that point. And then the goalkeeper got hurt one game. I remember, I think we were playing in Blacksburg or something. And I popped into goal, and I must have made a couple saves, and we ended up winning the game. And I realized, like, making a couple good saves is about the same as, scoring some goals. And so, the other thing that I really liked about it is because that soccer wasn't that big in Virginia where I was, I could work on it, and it was a kind of an individual position, so I didn't necessarily have to have a whole team to work out. I could just have a ball on a wall and work on like my handling and some of the technical things. And then there was a goalkeeper camp that would swing through every summer, that I would go to, and I would really kind of, challenge myself against other top goalkeepers from that area of the world. So, I like the individual side of it, and everybody always talks about how it's a team sport, but I think like with the goalkeeper, you're kind of in a position where if you kind of crush it, that you can affect things a lot more than maybe some other players can.
As far as you speaking about individuality, you obviously bet on yourself by going to that Columbine and taking that chance by paying it for yourself. When you left there, how did you feel about your performance there? Because you got drafted, I believe, second to last in the third round, correct? By the LA Galaxy.
Yeah, no, I thought that I played well, and actually it was interesting because I think that the Galaxy might have planned on inviting me in anyway, and then I paid my way down there, so the Galaxy actually had to use a draft pick because they were worried that somebody else had maybe seen me. And so I don't know, I was upset about the fact that I knew that I kind of paid my way down there, and then it was kind of a waste that I had done it because they were going to pick me up anyway. But my time at the Galaxy, like in '97, Kramer was there, David Kramer, who I thought was a good goalkeeper. I'd watched him all of '96. And then I guess I didn't really think about it, but when Campos came back in early June, they were going to make a decision, right? And so I played that first game against, I think, Aston Villa. And then, the following week on my birthday, I played against Columbus Crew. And so Lothar was forced to kind of make a decision between myself and David Kramer at that point. And I guess I naively didn't realize that stuff was so serious so quickly. But was fortunate that he thought that maybe my future was bigger than that of David's. And so, I was lucky to stick around as Campos arrived. And then as the expansion draft unfolded, got to stay with, my childhood club for the next 10 years.
You feel when you were tapped to get started against Aston Villa in your debut match, and Stan Collymore had just joined them, and such a fearsome forward?
Yeah, I think he just signed like a deal that was like the biggest deal for like a forward that had happened to that point in history. So, we were all kind of wondering what that was going to look like. And I don't know, I was probably making $24,000 a year, I think, for the first 3 years of my career with the Galaxy, living at home. And all of a sudden Stan Collymore, who's like the highest paid player probably in the world at that point, comes trotting out onto the Rose Bowl. And all I could think about was checking around him to see if anything had fallen out of his pocket.
That's too funny. I think it was before that you were taken from the Galaxy in an expansion draft. I gotta ask you, did you feel any pressure, being that the Galaxy traded a fan favorite in Jorge Campos to bring you back?
I never really thought of it that way. I thought Jorge and I had a really good relationship. I always tell a story, like he used to come out and kind of watch training, and so I would work really hard, and he would sit there on the ball and then like pop up and take like 10 or 12 reps, and then go hang out or go talk to somebody. But he always felt like he was the luckiest guy in the world, and surfer that grew up in Acapulco that was getting to do this professionally. But his understanding of the game was kind of something that I really took away from. I love the fact, like when somebody would score a goal on him, like he would always like applaud the shooter, rather than be pissed at himself, because it like redirected the attention away from him to the appreciation for the shooter. Like there's a real thought that, oh man, the keeper could have done better, but he always would just turn around and like clap towards the striker. And I was like, what a brilliant move that is, in terms of trying to make it so like everybody in the stadium recognizes it was a great shot. So like, let's not think about Jorge at all in this situation. But it was interesting when I got picked up in the expansion draft. I kind of talked to Bob Bradley. They'd also picked up Zach Thornton in the expansion draft. So they had two goalkeepers. He was like, if you come, we're going to be excited. If we work out something else, then, we certainly understand, what we would have been getting. But I think that Chicago Fire was really excited to see that, they had not protected a second goalkeeper, so they knew that they could kind of, put us in a bind by picking me up, because they knew that Campos wouldn't be there until June, and so then they were able to kind of package deal Jorge, and Chris Armas. And Chris Armas actually ended up being a massive presence for Chicago Fire for a long time to come. But I thought he was a great player for the Galaxy when he was there. It's cool to play with him.
Let me go back real quick. You said you had a great relationship with Jorge Campos. I got to ask you, did he ever let you drive the Ferrari?
He said one time, he goes, while he was sitting there watching me warm up or whatever, he goes, "Man, Kevin, you're really good." He goes, "You want to ride in my Ferrari?" I was like, "Oh, man." I don't know if that's supposed to be an insult or what, or like just bring me back down to earth or something. But he was pretty funny about the Ferrari for sure.
So after the trade happened, obviously you were the number one guy. What was your transition like between the 98 and 99 season? Because 99 was when you actually won the goalkeeper of the year for the league, right? So what was that big stride that you felt you made that year?
You know, when I always felt like I was really lucky because when Campos was there, this must have been probably 97. The last 15, 20 minutes of every game I would get to play, you know, so he would always go up top and then I would head back into the goal at probably the most important time of every game. And I had been sitting over on the sideline watching for like 70 minutes. Right. And so it was pretty high pressure and high stress. And so, but I thought it was a unique opportunity, you know, not very many backup goalkeepers are getting 20 minutes every game, you know? So I thought that was a pretty cool, factor in my time with the club early on. As I got the nod and I was going to be playing all the time, I just really kind of felt like I was trying to prove myself. I had a new goalkeeper coach in Zach Abdel, who Octavio had brought in, and you know, Zach was always somebody that was trying to, you know, get the most out of me, both, you know, from a technical standpoint and changing the way that I played, but also, you know, challenge me from a psychological perspective. And I think the world of Zach. He did change a lot of the things that I was doing. And, you know, to be a 23, 24-year-old goalkeeper and have somebody telling you that you don't know how the heck to play the position, you know, you kind of look at them like what are you talking about? I mean, I got here, you know, but yeah, Zach brought the best out of me. And I thought that probably either 99 or 2003 was probably one of my best years, you know? So, yeah, 99 was special for sure, but losing the championship the way that we lost it was obviously difficult.
I was actually in the press box for that Aston Villa game, and I remember that was the first time I ever heard somebody like mutter the word El Gato. And I remember it was a writer from La Opinion who was, you know, just a few seats away, and I was like, that's interesting. And I remember like it started getting muttered around more around the press box, and so I'm sure eventually you heard it. And I've always been curious to know, like, when you first heard the El Gato nickname, what did you think of it, and did you feel it was a good representation of your play as a goalkeeper?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I think I was proud of it. You know, I don't think at that point I realized that there were other goalkeepers that they kind of referred to as El Gato, so I thought it was pretty unique, you know. And then, like, as I got older, I would realize that maybe there was an El Gato down in, like, El Salvador, or maybe down in, like, Nicaragua, like, that it was kind of a nickname that kind of went hand in hand with goalkeepers. But I did feel like it was, like, a pretty unique thing for me within the United States. But then I also thought, you know, I kind of grew up in this, you know, whatever, high school soccer and, you know, college soccer thing. And for me to kind of be accepted by the Latin community within LA was something that I was really proud of. You know, I studied Spanish. I try speaking Spanish when I'm able, you know, and so it's really a situation where, it's really a situation where I did take a lot of pride in it. And I think El Gato, when I first saw it, was mostly about, you know, my reactions and being able to get up and down really quickly. And now I feel like it's something a little bit, maybe I'm like an older cat now.
Well, you know, that's always a good sign because you're in a big Hispanic community. And when Hispanics give you a nickname, that means you're accepted.
Yeah, no, I think that's what it was. I think it was a level of acceptance, and I think that it was, you know, something I'm really proud of.
I gotta ask you. You know, you had pressure with Campos. I think at some point I don't know if you went heads up with Kramer, but you also had Matt Reese that you had to compete with. What was it like competing against Matt Reese in 2005 in MLS Cup?
Yeah, no, I mean, Matt and I, like, we worked against one another when I was at UCLA too. So it wasn't just at the Galaxy. Like, we'd been at UCLA together. And, you know, I think the world of Matt. You know, he's always somebody that I thought had a huge level, and he was always somebody that pushed me. And, you know, I always felt like, you know, his core values lined up with my core values. I felt he was a great teammate. And, you know, I know I kind of broke my wrist, I think, in 2001, and he had time, and I knew it was going to be difficult to kind of wrestle the position back from him. And, you know, just so happy that to see him go to New England and have so much success and really kind of, you know, if you think about it, he was playing professionally probably for 4 or 5 years before he got the chance at New England, and then went to New England and was such a mainstay and really an anchor for that team. So, you know, I was happy to see everything that he's accomplished. I think we remain good friends to this day. And, you know, I was excited to see him be able to go on and do the things that he went on and did at other places. But I certainly relish my time with him as a teammate as well, for sure.
Well, obviously you got the better of him in 2005 in that final. One of your patent shutouts that year. But between the two championships, what were the different struggles that you had, or as the team had, between 2002 and the 2005 championship?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I just felt like the group that we had coming through, like 99, 2001, 2002, I just felt like it was a complete team. You know, I thought that, you know, we had some great players in every position. You know, we had some longevity together. You know, Landon came in, and was probably making a lot, and we had to make some adjustments. So we would have different kind of, you know, younger players. It was just a different mix, you know, rather than being like a core group of, you know, maybe medium wage paid players, to being like Landon, a couple of medium play, and then some like really young guys, you know. And so I thought in 2005 we really struggled to figure out exactly how we could get the continuity that we needed. I think we entered the playoffs in 8th place. You know, we kind of offered up a lineup that we felt like would be one that would be conducive to us making a run. And I think that put a lot of pressure on all of us as players, but we were able to step up and do it. And so, you know, it was just different groups, different, you know, different parts of, you know, the history of the Galaxy and the club. The first one was certainly a very, very important one, but it doesn't take anything away with opening up Pizza Hut Park in Frisco with a championship for the club.
It seems that having a mental edge and an opponent in professional sports is always a big thing. It's like beneficial to a lot of athletes to thrive in that kind of pressure. And I was wondering, throughout your career, was there like a specific team or a player that you always loved to face because you knew you had a mental edge over them?
I don't know. I think that for me personally, I would always take things as a one-off, you know, and even if you would have that mental edge, it wouldn't be like a mental edge that you would really want to rely on. You would just hope that you would get out there on the field and the other player maybe would feel that pressure. But, you know, certainly I can think of players that, you know, I didn't love playing against. I didn't love playing against Echeverry. I thought that he was somebody that would kind of catch you if you were, you know, not thinking the way that you should probably be thinking and concentrating and focused at the highest level. And there were a lot of guys like that, guys that, you know, were just difference makers, you know, and you know, but in terms of teams that we had the better of, you know, I mean, certainly being able to beat New England Revolution and some of the difficulties that they had in championships, I think that you would think that we had the mental edge, but I don't think we ever really went into it thinking, oh, well, we have this, just because we'd had so much difficulty gaining the first one, you know. So we had been in their spot for a few years, and so when 2002 came around and we changed that, then that was kind of a difference maker for us. But San Jose was back and forth, Houston was back and forth with us. I mean, there was very few teams that we had that kind of dominance over, except maybe Chivas USA.
Still do.
Still do.
Well, we always felt as fans we had a mental edge having you in goal. But when you left, it hurt, man. I got to know, what was your reaction when you were traded away to Kansas City? And did you see yourself retiring as a Galaxy player?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I'm like a massive optimist, and so I think probably when it happened, and, I think probably Joe Cannon had kind of been brought to the team before I had left. And so I think the writing was like a little bit on the wall, his relationship with Frank Yalla. And so I just decided that it was important that I started thinking about what was going to be next. I felt fortunate to be able to play with one club for 10 years in a time in the history of professional sports where that doesn't really happen very often anymore. So I jumped at the chance to go somewhere and play and see if I could prove to myself and prove to others that I was able to do it in other places besides just my hometown. So that was going to be a new experience for me and a learning opportunity. And so I tried to grab a hold of that and do the best I could with that. Stayed there for 3 years. I think I was, I thought I did a good job there. It was difficult we were playing in Arrowhead, I think, the first year, and then we played in that Community America ballpark and in the baseball stadium for 2 years. So it was kind of a little bit of a tumultuous time there for the club. But then obviously On Goal, the company that bought the club from the Hunts, then built that big arena there. So, and then they got rid of Davey Arnaud, they got rid of Jack Jewsbury, they got rid of Jimmy Conrad. So it was the start of something new, and so it was a good time for me to kind of prove that I could do it there. Went down to Dallas, but I was keeping an eye on LA and trying to see what was going on back home, and trying to figure out if there was a way to get back there at some point.
Looking back at those first championship years with the Galaxy, what do you feel was a bigger accomplishment? Was it winning MLS Cup in 2002 or the CONCACAF Champions Cup in 2001?
Yeah, I think now when I look at it, I'm like, oh man, that Champions Cup thing was something really special. I guess the thing that you would kind of, put an asterisk by it a little bit was that we got to stay in our hometown and we got to play all of our matches in our hometown and, in front of home fans. I think probably made that a little bit easier to win at that point than it is now with the amount of travel back and forth to Central America and to different places within the United States. But that certainly is a massive accomplishment, and something that you don't want to shake a stick at. And then you think about 96 and how that kind of went awry in 99 and 2001. And, we'd lost it 3 times, and so to be able to look at the number of championships that the club has now, I think that was probably a pretty defining moment for us, and so I would think that in actuality is the one that seems the most defining to me.
I think from the things that you touched on, as far as you having more of a complete team leading into 2002, after that the 2001 championship, what were some of the players on the team that you look forward or that you look to for to match your intensity, to match your level of play? Who were the reliable players for you on that squad?
I think that's the thing. I mean, I just think the whole group was so, you think about it, you've got guys on the bench that, ended up being massive contributors other places. But I looked at that team and I felt like we had players at every position that really gave us a chance to win. Certainly Carlos Ruiz was having the year of his life, and it was really cool to see him, to train with him every day. I think it made me better. He wasn't typical, like find some space, prepare the ball 3 yards and strike it left or right. He extremely dynamic. He's tough to get a read on. He's toe bashing the ball. He's, jumping 40 inches up into the air and heading it back across people. I just felt like he was probably the one that was, on the opposite side of things, really making things go. Certainly, Kobe and CN, who have always been legends within the club and guys that I have a lot of respect for, were kind of making the midfield work. And I think probably at that point, Peter was probably playing the 6 and, somebody that I was always really comfortable playing the ball into. And as we worked our way out of the back, it was a pretty complete team, in terms of, what we were about at that point. And people forget, at that point, before, when I came into the league, there's only 10 teams and 20 players. So there were really only 200 professional soccer opportunities within the United States, like at a reasonable level, and now you have, 20 some odd teams and rosters are 30 to 40 deep, and you have a USL team and there's 20 to 30 players. I mean, there's so much opportunity now. You don't have as many guys that understand what perseverance is about, because, you can play for a USL team, and if you don't have success here, you can go play for the Wilmington, Hammerheads or whatever they are, and then you can go from there and go to the Switchbacks, so it's like you can bounce around and still have a pretty successful career. But, back then it was like there's 200 spots. And so for me, that limited number of playing opportunities really created these guys that, knew how to step up when they needed to.
Yeah. And being lucky as you are, one of the very few Americans that got to play in the MLS. Looking back at your career, I know you won cups, not just domestically, but obviously the Champions League. What are some other memorable moments you had with the Galaxy that you always carry with you?
I always feel like, the U.S. Open Cup championships are a pretty cool thing. I think it would be great to see, that become more and more reinvigorated. It'd be good to see, the U.S. Open Cup championships, more recognized. I think that getting those on TV and making it so that, there's separate game days and, maybe make the prize pool a little bit bigger so, teams aren't playing their second groups. I just, I think that it's very similar to like an FA Cup, right? Where everybody kind of gets this entrance and you can kind of, as the different tiers of the professional leagues within the United States, become more and more competitive. I just think that's a really special opportunity, and you can imagine Alexi running up into the Ivy at Fullerton, and there's all these like unique U.S. Open Cup stories. But I always thought that those were really cool. Preseason trips. I always, when I finished playing, I thought that, I was really lucky to get to play the sport I love, but I also thought that I was really lucky to get to meet the people that I'd met, and so the preseason trips became the team bonding opportunities, and, the stories that, that I have to share from there will come out in the book next August, whenever I get that finished. But you can feel free to look forward to that.
Shameless plug. I love it.
I'm just kidding. I'm not writing a book right now. But...
Oh, but you've written a book before. We're going to get to that eventually. But before that...
Somebody will hold me accountable to it.
But before that, I remember the times I would go to the locker room and interview players. It was a lot different back then. Like it was a lot looser, and you could just walk up to any player and start talking to them. And I remember like sometimes I would sit there and I would just watch, you guys talk to each other and like the conversations and the interaction you would have. So I'm just curious now, who were some of your best friends in the team and the club, and who were the guys that you normally joke with, talk to, hang around with, and are you still good friends with them?
Yeah, I mean, I hope we're still good friends. I mean, I don't know how it is with you guys, but with me and my guy friends, I don't necessarily have to talk to them every week or whatever the case may be, and I still feel like I have really good relationships with them. Probably the best friends that I had within the team were guys that I played with at UCLA, and I just had longer history with, right? So guys like Peter and Sasha Victorine were good friends of mine. I was roommates with Martin Machon from Guatemala, so he became a good friend of mine. Clint Mathis was somebody that I played with, Matt Reese, Kobe I still see all the time, CN. We're really fortunate to, have shared a little bit of space with Ezra last year when he was an assistant for the club. The soccer community is small enough that we get to stay in touch. But I agree with you about the locker room and how accessible it was. I can remember playing soccer tennis with Danny Pena every day at the Rose Bowl, and how that really kind of changed my life because, when I was growing up, we didn't really have to, the pass back rule didn't really come into effect until 92. So you could always pick up the ball. And so like playing with my feet had never like really been a strong point, but playing soccer tennis with Danny Pena every day at the Rose Bowl had really kind of made it so that there was a real comfortability with it, and I see Danny out here all the time at the stadium because he's working with the local club and coaching a team. And so I sometimes see him. But yeah, I mean, all those guys are good friends of mine. I think that's probably the reason that I think so highly of that team. Even Carlos, when he's out here in Los Angeles, like we'll bump into each other and have the opportunity to say hi or go out and share a iced tea or whatever.
So, you're mentioning a lot about how, little things like that helped you out. Now, you're in charge of the academy. You took over after leading the girls academy, but I believe before that you had an academy of your own, correct? The Shutout Academy, is that correct?
So I used to, right when I finished, I had probably from 2010 to 2013, I had a goalkeeper academy that I did down in Dallas, where I worked with young players. From shutout goalkeeping in that business, I went down to IMG Academy, which is where the U.S. national team was for their U17 groups down in Bradenton. So I was the technical director down there from probably 2014 to 2017. And then had the opportunity to come out and start our girls academy. And then, last year, probably in May, I took over as the academy director for soccer operations for the boys and the girls academy. So I've been doing that for probably about a year and 3 or 4 months now.
Okay. So as we mentioned, you're now director of the soccer academy. Some of the biggest clubs in the world is what they do is they keep it in house. You've seen it in Barca, where just someone like Frank Rijkaard becomes a coach. Madrid, Zidane, and I think Madrid has people in the front office as well. So my question is, how important is it to keep it in house, to keep the winning mentality alive? You have now Chris Klein as president, Peter Vagenas as vice president, and Alexi as GM in the past.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because, when I finished up, I knew that I wasn't really ready for some of the opportunities that may be available. Like if I had an agent or a manager kind of banging down doors or whatever the case may be, I just wanted to make sure that when I got my opportunity that I kind of paid my dues, right? And so, going down to IMG, I considered it kind of boot camp for everything else that I really wanted to accomplish within the soccer side of things for a long time to come. And so the soccer business down there is very, very important. We would have quarterly meetings about, what our retention was and, just things that I hadn't really ever considered before. I always just considered, kind of the quality and understanding, what the steps were to create future professionals. Right. And so coming out here, I would say that the thing that is important is that relationship with fans and also understanding, what our core values are as a club, and I don't even think when we started that the core values maybe were written or the mission statement was written. I think it was just kind of, this is the group of players and this is kind of what we're going to be about, and it was like about honesty and hard work and just a litany of other different aspects to the club that you could see it in the way that we played. We wanted to play a patient possession oriented style of play where there was build up and there was tempo. And you look at the teams now and I think that those are things that we can continue to grow within our players. And I'm fortunate to get to work alongside Juan Carlos Ortega, who, is the director of methodology for our club. And so he oversees U23 on down, and so I right now I'm working with the academy age players, and working with our education department, and making sure that there's good kind of communication between ourselves and MLS and U.S. Soccer, and I think we have a good thing going. I don't think it's impossible for people from outside the club, but I do think that for the fans and the people that had dedicated a lot of their time to kind of understanding what the Galaxy and what the club is about, it's good to see people that feel like they have a future within it. I actually went to college at Cal State Dominguez Hills for 2 years, so I feel like I've been on this campus now for since '92. So almost 30 years. I feel like I've been around here, and so I can tell you what it looked like before they built Beckham Field and what it looked like before they built the stadium, and so it's a real honor to continue the work that I do with the club. I feel like you said, there's guys like Chris that have been here and are running the club, and then there's guys like Dennis and Juan Carlos that have came from outside and are certainly experts within their field, and guys that I am learning from on a daily basis.
In my personal opinion, I actually like the appointment very much. One thing that maybe a lot of people didn't even know, that I might be wrong, but you actually collected your UCLA graduate or your degree just recently, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, so I told you that I had to leave in February to go down to Mexico for that first preseason, and I was scheduled to graduate in June or whatever the case may be. And so I had taken online courses to get all the way through, but then about 10 years ago or something, they're like, well, you have to be on campus for your last 2 classes. And so for 10 years, I was like, are you guys sure that I can't just take this thing remotely? It will help your graduation rate. It'll make UCLA athletics look like that they care about academics. So no, these last 2 classes, you have to be on campus. So when I finally moved back, and I got things kind of started in 2017, in that spring of 2018, I started driving from Palos Verdes all the way up to Westwood twice, 3 times a week, and it was an absolute monster of a drive. It took me 3 hours twice a week each direction, but I was able to do it. And I think my dad was in education, and my parents and my mom was in education, so and I had 2 daughters now, so it was I wanted to be able to say that I'd actually wrapped it up and finished schooling. So it's something I'm super proud of. And it's one of the things that, we were talking about the education department within the academy. It's, Dr. Baduria does a great job in terms of, working with the staff and the education side of the things to make sure our kids are prepared for, whatever's next, whether that's college or whether that's the professional game, and making sure that they have options and they're prepared for their interviews and the things that they're doing in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, it's stuff like that I like the appointment, because one thing that I hope our fans and your fans and the Galaxy fans take away from this is your perseverance. You gambled on yourself from the beginning. You paid your way to the Columbine. You weren't a high draft pick, but from the conversation we're having now, that didn't really faze you. You went in trying to take in that spot. You obviously are trying to improve the game by doing your academy that you did in Dallas, and the steps that you're doing now. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years with this team, or organizationally wise?
It's funny because I'm really happy doing the work that I'm doing right now, and if the club needs anything more from me, I'm certainly willing to kind of help. I love working with the youth. I think that it's really exciting to be able to kind of relay the lessons that I took away from playing. And we don't have a history of, professional soccer players within this country. And so to be able to not lose that expertise, a lot of guys finish and they're working in real estate, or they're going and they're selling insurance. And it's alarming that expertise that they took away from their experiences of playing professionally for 5 or 10 years just disappears, And so my hope is to be able to kind of align those groups and to be able to bring guys in and share some of the lessons that they had. I know that we're excited to have added Juninho and Marcelo Sarvis to the coaching staff. And so, it's one thing to have professional experiences, but, you have to be able to relay those lessons in a way that, is conducive to the kids. And so I think that for us is an important part of this next year, is trying to figure out exactly, how these fan favorites can continue to relay lessons that are relevant and, keep top young players coming through the academy.
So I'm going to go back to your publishing history. Yeah, and what can you tell us about your book? A lot of people don't know that you're actually a published author. What can you tell us about the legendary Boots the Cat book?
So Boot Saves the Day was a book that my wife and I, it must have been 2004, 2005, because we had a place in Vegas where I would drive after every game so that I could try to get Nevada residency for state tax reasons. So I just remember going back and forth from Las Vegas and working on this book before we had kids, and it was a story about a cat who, was trying to play soccer, and obviously cats would lunge at the soccer ball with their front paws. And so that was the handball. And then, the cat decided that it was going to become a goalkeeper, and so then it had a lot of success because of its ability to kind of leap and dive in different directions. But it was a great project for me and my wife. It was cool to be able to share the book with my daughters, but is not something that's currently in I don't know, maybe there's a second edition coming out in a couple years or something, but we'll have to stay tuned for that.
Well, Kevin, if you need help, I got Oprah on speed dial, so let me know and I'll get you on that.
Exactly.
So let's open it up to some questions from the fans then.
All right, cool. Kevin, thank you for answering our questions. Fans obviously excited to talk to you, and they just have some questions for you. First one comes from actually a friend of the show, and he wants to know, are you guys really best friends? This comes from Chris Tucker from the Riot Squad. I'm not sure if you remember him.
Yeah, no, I remember Chris, absolutely. I think I was supposed to be overseeing his wedding, but I might have missed it or something. I don't know. Yeah. I miss seeing Chris around over at the Riot Squad area and being able to share an iced tea with him. But we look forward to doing that again soon. And absolutely, me and Chris, best friends forever.
There it is. Yeah, he always has a great story about how you blessed his baby. So we'll see if he grows up to be as great as you are in the goal.
Oh.
Right, next one comes from Logan Jones in Instagram. He wants to know, what's your Mount Rushmore of Galaxy players?
Oh God! How many people is that? 5? 4?
Let's do 5 for each championship. Since we have 5.
Oh man!
I'll make it easier for you.
For each championship, you guys must think I'm like a real fan of that, like 2010 to 2015. I don't know who the heck was on that team.
I'm just saying one per championship. I'm not saying from each championship.
All right. Well, Carlos Ruiz can be from the 2002 group. 2005 group, you should probably put Landon on there. What are some more years? 2011?
Yeah.
Yep.
How about Beckham for that one? What else? 2012?
12 and 14.
Keane, right?
Yep.
Would that work? And they'll have another one?
One more. 2014.
How about we just put Bruce up there?
Love it.
With his champagne bottle out the side of his mouth.
Like a boss.
Yeah, dude, perfect. I think that's pretty much mine, but except I would have you on there.
I appreciate it. I think that I'm my parents taught me to be more humble than that. I wouldn't put myself up on any Rushmores.
Next
but I would say something about the logo.
What's that?
I like the logo now that you put that on there. That looks cool.
Oh, thanks. That actually goes to one of our other co-hosts that couldn't be on. He's a graphic designer, so I can't take his credit. Next one comes from Stay and Trucha from Instagram. He wants you to describe that moment walking through the tunnel for the first time in a Galaxy jersey.
golly, I imagine that I was, and I always talk about this, like, I need to sit down, and I thought the pandemic might be the perfect time to like go back and, try to put a little bit more time wrapping my head around exactly what all these experiences mean to me. When you're playing, I always feel like if you win, that's how things are supposed to go, and if you lose, then you're like worried about your job the next week, and the games are always coming up, and I don't really feel like I've had an opportunity to really sit back and enjoy everything that, all the small moments within, my life as a player. But I would imagine that, the first game that I was playing against Aston Villa was just a mixture of, pride, coupled with the fact that, a lot of anxiety going into a game and just knowing how important it was for me to be successful. Right. Very rarely, are you celebrating like before the thing starts, so it's not like you're looking right and looking left and you're like really proud of yourself going out onto the field. It was really about, making sure that you fulfilled the expectations that, that you have for yourself. And I've always been pretty realistic about what my playing level was like. And so I would say that, I was probably anxious, and I was probably, looking forward to being able to play. And I was probably happy it was a midweek game, and that there was only going to be 20,000 instead of 60,000, and the maybe the tension that goes into a bigger game like that. But I would imagine that playing against an Aston Villa team, I always grew up, watching English soccer on TV. So I would think that, maybe I saw it as an opportunity to prove I had what it was to play in the English game. And so I'm sure that was something that I was probably thinking about. And then, just trying to prove my worth to the coach and the guys on the team, and fulfill my expectations as a player. But I bet it was exciting. I looking to the right, looking to the left, and I don't know, I was probably embarrassed that I was out there. I was at that point in my life, I was probably a lot more timid and shy.
Gotcha. Question from one of Edgar's friends, Andrew Peter Ruto. Peter Ruto. Who was the scariest, most dangerous attacking player you ever played against?
When we played Real Madrid, I was just blown away by the fact that like Roberto Carlos, who I always thought was like this guy who was going to like shoot it from like the other corner flag and put it in the back of the net, would be wide open, and he would pass the ball into Zidane when Zidane would have like three guys on his back, and Zidane would still like shake the three guys and like switch the point of attack and like get into the box. And Zidane was just another level, and the way that his teammates treated him and the presence that he had on the field, he could do whatever he wanted with the ball. And so for me, I would think that probably Zidane was the craziest attacking player that I ever played against. But if it says, does it say, it says scariest? If it said craziest, I was going to say Henri, but but scariest would probably be Zidane.
Oh, yeah, and actually we were at that game, and you actually got some big saves in that game. I remember, was it Zidane you went 1-on-1 that you got caught with?
I think I saved something at Figo's feet.
Figo.
That team probably had some pretty decent players on it.
Yeah, maybe. And then lastly, we have a question from Luis Alvarez. He wants to know your thoughts on the shootouts now, looking back. Was it weird, funny? What were your thoughts now?
Do you want him to return?
Yeah, it would be cool to return, right? I think that there's certain things that I'm really like loyal to the history of things and want everything to kind of be, well laid out like FIFA's plans have. But I always thought that them will shoot at. I thought that was great. But I do remember we were playing against FC Dallas one time, and whoever was like responsible for the shootout clock had an absolute shocker. And they went around me, and as a goalkeeper, you would always kind of know like when the 5 seconds was up just based on the amount of practice that we had. And I think they went around, and it had to be like 7 seconds, and then they scored. And like we went back and we watched it on the bus, and they like, I guess on the fake had like stopped the clock. and instead of the actual shot. So I felt like there was maybe a playoff game or something down in Dallas that we'd lost as a result of it. But now that I'm a fan, I would love to see him like trot back 30 some odd yards and see what they can do. See if he can get around his keeper.
Dallas,
it was interesting to see the way that people would deal with it. I mean, people would like pop the ball up for himself for like a full volley from the 20. People would try to go around the goalkeeper, but it always felt like you had a better chance than a penalty kick shootout. So I actually liked it.
Yeah, they should bring it back for the All-Star game or something in some form. Yeah, but yeah,
I love all those like little talent things they do.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's what I just added right onto there. Shootouts were exciting, dude. I remember the clock winding down because if I remember correctly, the refs didn't have control at the time. So there's a clock counting down on the scoreboard, and then you could just see the clock for the shootout just creeping out of the tunnel like they're pushing it out for the fans.
Yeah, they'd roll this old shootout clock, and it was long, and it like had like a sponsor on it, and it would like just count down the thing. But whoever was responsible for pushing the button, they had a shocker in Dallas. I know that.
And again, Kevin, I want to thank you for being on here with us. Sorry. Before we let you go, Spenny or Edgar, you guys had anything to add?
I have a question about the Galaxy 2. We tried to bring in a few more academy players in, I believe, 2017. I think we're doing a lot better with the academy players being brought up now with Efra and Zubac and Wild and Dunbar. What are some players that maybe are around 15, 16 years old that we may not have heard of that you look forward to see their progress into the first team?
Well, I mean, I think that the addition of Depew to the first team has been a great addition and really provided some stability there. So, I think that he's another one of those players that has been pretty impactful for the first team. But yeah, I think Araujo has done a good job in addition to the guys that you mentioned. Certainly, we're really excited about where things are heading, the direction that things are taking. But yeah, Junior Gonzalez has got G2 playing exceptionally well. They're in pretty tight competition now for that second spot in the Southwestern Conference with Phoenix and San Diego. But guys within that, I think Augustine Williams has scored a lot of goals for that team and somebody that could be an impactful number 9. Trying to think, you got two young guys that play in the center of the back, and Marcus Vercranus and Jalen Neal that are going to be players to watch for the future. I think Adam Saldana does a good job at the 6 for that group, and plays a pretty high level of minutes. And then Johnny Perez is somebody that I think went to Orlando with the first team, and now he's back with the second team. But he's got to be 17 years old. I had the opportunity to coach his older sister within the girls' academy, but Johnny would come out there and was always super humble and wanted to just try to get out there and take shots. And one of those kids that just really is passionate and loves the game. So, but we know that all these players are going to develop at different rates, and we just got to figure out ways that we can, make sure that we're realistic, but we're also that we're patient for the right guys, and we're really lucky that, Dennis and Guillermo Barroscalotto both believe in the youth, and so it can be one thing if myself and Juan Carlos and Junior are really excited about youth players, but if you don't have the support of Dennis and you don't have the support of GBS, then you hit a wall, and that competitive structure and the platform that you're playing on becomes everything, and it's been really I think unique within the pandemic that we have 16-year-old kids that are getting regular games with G2, but it also I think is an excellent opportunity for them to prove themselves and for them to still be as competitive as they are right now within the league. I think it says a lot about the talent that we have here within Southern California.
Thanks. I gotta ask Kevin, last question. So you were involved with the Girls Academy. You were passionate growing up about soccer. You have 2 daughters now. Are your daughters are passionate about the sport as well? Do you see them playing for the future LA women's
I'm always happy to support them however I can. I think my older daughter has grown a lot, and I'm actually about to slap some gloves on her and get her out doing some footwork exercises in the next couple of weeks so I can get her a college scholarship. But she hasn't played a ton. And my other daughter's 6, and she would plan to join AYSO this year, but with COVID, she hasn't really had the opportunity. So we sometimes go out and kick the ball around. I think that they had some, great mentors on the girls' side. I know that I was watching a Baylor game the other day where some of our players were playing, and so it's really rewarding to see these players to be able to, see the lessons that you kind of felt like that you taught them and that you'd worked with them on, go on and find success at the next level. So we're certainly continuing to cheer the players on that we had here. And, I grew up, like I said, in Southwestern Virginia where we had co-ed high school teams. And so, I always continue to try to find ways that, we can continue to grow this thing for more and more of the community.
Nice. Well, hopefully we can get a Hartman jersey pretty soon. So we're about to let you go. And, right now it's a difficult time for all of us, including Galaxy fans. You got any message for Galaxy fans out there?
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing for me is just to say thank you for all the support that you've always given me, and to make sure that you understand that this is something that's really shared, and you guys mentioned the fact that, some of the former players are involved within the club, but the reality is we're nothing without this group, we're nothing without the fans, and everything that we really do on a day-to-day basis is to try to make sure that we're providing you guys with an on-field product and doing good things in the community and continuing to grow, the Galaxy's reputation, and can't say enough about how important that reputation is, so whether it's success, whether it's the way we go about our business, but certainly we want to be something that you guys can all be proud of, and so thank you guys for all the hard work that you guys put into the podcast, but also to the fans out there that are supporting us, whether it's, putting together the TIFO and the things in the stadium that the players get all excited about seeing, or whether it's the people that are putting together new chants and the such. So, really proud to be a part of a community, now since 1996, 25 years, it's a long time, but if there's anything that I can ever do to be of support to what you guys are up to, please let me know. And certainly I'm happy to relay it to different parts of the club.
We really appreciate that, Kevin, and we appreciate you being here. It was an honor having you here, and hopefully it's won't be the last time.
No, anytime. You guys let me know. I just got to be able to squeeze it into the schedule, but me, I love to chat about soccer.